Welcome back, everybody. So I want to take you on a journey today, and I want you to stay with me to the end. I think you're going to like it. And the reality is I want to talk about XRP being a security, but not in the manner that you think. Let's just roll that beautiful intro and get into this.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove and everything that we're talking about here today. Okay, so right now we're looking at a market cap for the entire crypto space at $891 billion. Very, very close to that $1 trillion mark. We will keep an eye on it. Obviously, we have had some amazing news from Brian Brooks and the OCC now announcing that we've got the A-OK for banks to use these payment networks, these blockchain and distributed ledger technology networks as payment systems, and the use of stablecoins for them to settle transactions, especially in cross-border situations. Okay. Now, with that being said, I want to take a look at this clip to set the tone for where we're going today. Remind you, some of this you may have seen, some of this you may have not. But what I can guarantee you is that I think we're going to have a real discussion and look at some illustrations that I've laid out here that will absolutely make you question whether or not XRP gets a security designation. And I'm going to try to provide for you what I believe today on this day is the clearest image I can of why that would happen. And no, before we go any further, it does not mean security in the sense that you would own a piece of Ripple. That's not what we're talking about here. Let me play this clip and let's build the narrative. Here we go. Let's go.
If this happens, which I say if, I think you're saying when. I get it.
You have a little bit more to do with the if than we do. I'm just kidding.
No, and look, Jay, my view is it's happening.
Yeah.
Right. What is the U.S.'s role?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what.
Yeah.
That's
right. I'm gonna go further
point.
because
do my right hand. Yes, you're right.
Yes, because we're both involved in companies that are doing it. Mm-hmm. We'd like to do it here, but we're gonna do it.
Well, let me ask.
There you go. We'd like to do it here, but we're going to do it. And that is about as frank and as forward as you could possibly be. That's Gary Cohn, by the way, former economic director and advisor to the current administration and the president. And that's Glenn Hutchins in the middle. And I think we all know Jay Clayton. The scenario I'm going to lay out for you today actually reveals Jay Clayton in more of a light of being a good guy instead of a bad guy. Stay with me. Stay with me. I don't care if you've seen this stuff before. Let me take you down to the river and then you make your own mind up here. So we know that the idea is that these gentlemen want to do this here. That's where it is. What's the world and the U.S. role in this as the world moves forward with this technology, right? Okay. Now, with that being said, IBM has just named Gary Cohn, the gentleman just said that we want to do it here, as the new vice chairman of IBM. Looks like Gary has got his way, and we're going to be doing it here. That's amazing. Now, side note, USDC is set to land on Stellar's network in 2021, expanding the availability of the USDC token. And that is a stable coin that was put together by Jeremy Allaire from Circle and Brian Brooks, OCC's Brian Brooks, when he was the chief legal officer at Coinbase. Things are expanding, and that's exciting. And I believe it's important to note that news because I believe that because Jed McCaleb created the ledger, the XRP ledger, and Arthur Brito and David Schwartz are co-creators of the ledger. That's the way that story goes. And the time that Jed had left after leaving Ripple, he took the XRP code open source technology with him. And that is what Stellar is built from. So I see these things as very, very close relatives, brother and sister, however you want to say it. We know that we just got this interpretive letter yesterday from OCC and Brian Brooks, and this is really allowing the authority to use for the federally chartered banking system in the entire United States to use independent node verification networks and stablecoins for payment activities. Now, this is interesting. Now, stay with me here, because down here on page, is it 6, I believe? Stay with me. So you may have seen it in this morning's video, but I've got other things for you to look at. So let me take you there. This is a reminder that certain stablecoins may be securities. Well, all of a sudden, it's not Brad's imagination anymore. They're telling you right here, certain stablecoins may be securities. Well, I believe that XRP certainly could be a stablecoin. That does not mean that it would be worth $1. We're going to talk about that in a second too. But it's written right there, and you see it. Certain stablecoins can be securities or derivatives or commodities, right? That's the truth too. This is a reminder as far as creating stablecoins and launching them off of networks. It was right before swell of 2019. David Schwartz talked about the idea that you could launch stablecoins itself off of the ledger. I'm talking about XRP potentially being a global stablecoin and having a security designation that would have no tie to Ripple, the company, at all. Stay with me. This is Ripple, the blockchain infrastructure company. This is them filed with the SEC. If you own XRP, you do not have rights to ownership or the gains that Ripple, the company, make. That's not what we're talking about here. What I am talking about is I am talking about what would be known as a derivative security. A derivative security is a financial contract between two parties for buying or selling a property, assets, commodity, or other security at a predetermined price within a specific time period. Generally, a derivative security is a contract representing a group of underlying assets. Derivative security is a contract representing a group of underlying assets. Don't forget that one. I want you to hold on to that one. All right, hold on to that one. We're not done yet. Then we have the work by the Financial Stability Board that has been done over the last several years, and they released in October the global stablecoin arrangement. Inside of that document, there's a highlight here where it talks about stablecoins are an attempt to address high volatility of traditional crypto assets by tying the stablecoin's value to one or more other assets. To one or more other assets. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. All right. So then they go on to talk about the idea that if a widely adopted stablecoin with potential reach across multiple jurisdictions, so-called a global stablecoin or stablecoins, could become systemically important in and across one or many jurisdictions in the means of making payments, which Brian Brooks just allowed with the payment networks and stablecoins. Stay with me. Stay with me. Looking at this is the President Working Group. Now, I showed some of this morning, but I'm telling you, stay with me here. We're not done. Stay with me. So I'm looking at this, and inside of this document, it does say, if you go here to page 2, depending on its design and other factors, a stablecoin may constitute a security, a commodity, or a derivative subject to U.S. federal securities, commodity, and derivative laws. A derivative security is a contract representing a group of underlying assets. This is talking about the idea that something can be a security or a derivative, which is a security instrument. Okay? Now, here's where I want to take you here. Let me take you to this first. I've shown this diagram before. This diagram about collateralizing the XRP ledger, with a percentage of the Nostro Vostro money that's been lying dormant in the accounts around the world. This would mean they're putting up some of the fiat reserves, a portion of those accounts, to physically back a CBDC launched by a central bank. This done on the ledger, as Brad Garlinghouse has suggested that central banks are looking to do. You could expand the idea beyond just the fiat reserves and a percentage put up to launch the CBDC, which I see happening. But you could go further and you could bring many different forms of collateral onto the ledger in a percentage. Gold, oil, fiat reserves of many different currencies, tokenized securities, stocks, bonds, options. This done all around the world in a percentage of all these different assets of value that have been tokenized could be set and put up here as collateral to provide a price floor for the asset XRP. Well, let me tell you what else it would do in my eyes. Because let's look at this diagram. What has it always been when we've talked about XRP? Well, for Ripple, they've always said it's been about all the money. All the money on the XRP ledger, the universal highway for the new digital world, the Internet of Value, the new financial system, which will be a private network on top of the Internet of Value. XRP, a collection and a percentage of commodities, soft commodities, hard commodities, whether it be wheat, silver, soybeans, oil, gold, silver, palladium, platinum, you name it. Or maybe even stocks, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Google, bonds, 1 year, 5 year, doesn't matter, right? Options, the whole bit. XRP could become a derivative security because, again, the definition is a derivative security is a contract representing a group of assets, underlying assets. So when we think about that, and then we look here and look at the path, if a percentage of these multi-asset backed global stablecoins were backed by commodities, securities, right? The gold, the wheat, the soybeans, the silver, the stocks, the bonds, the fiat, the stable coins that are launched off of the XRP ledger, as David Schwartz told us you can do as of last year. And cryptos themselves could be represented on the ledger. In doing so, providing a price based on the collateralization of all of these products and all of these assets of value, giving XRP a floor price. But I would offer a suggestion that we consider the notion, because I believe XRP is a currency too. But I also believe that if you collateralize the ledger in order to provide the depth of liquidity that is needed for the world to use this in the manner that that letter from the OCC is now suggesting can service the depth of the amount of money that is happening cross-border for the entire U.S. federally chartered banking system. If you want to have a depth of liquidity on the ledger to be able to service those kind of payments that are happening from the federally chartered banking system in the United States and the cross-border transactions they're doing in a day, 22 cents ain't going to cut it. So if you did this and something that looks a lot like this, you could provide a price floor that gives you the level of liquidity and price that you need to function with the amount of volume that will be required to move on a network and settle on a daily basis. When I think about the idea of XRP being a security, it's not that it gives you a piece of Ripple, the company. That's absurd. When I think about XRP being a security, I think about it being a security because it could be backed by multi-assets and represented by the XRP token. And that could make it a derivative security instrument. That, to me, is plausible. Here's another notion and another idea. If the world clearly understands that XRP is about all the money in the universal highway for the world to settle all of its volumes of payments and transactions daily, no matter what area of industry they're in, then the world clearly understands that this will be the most highly liquid, fastest settling asset in demand on the planet, even more than the US dollar itself. And if you understand that, and I understand that, the powers that be absolutely understand that. And maybe, just maybe, it's in their best interest to label this thing a security because of how it is backed to get its value, but also give it a stablecoin designation because it functions as a currency. This may be just the advantage that all the sovereign currencies around the world and countries around the world need to ensure to them and to reassure them that they will not, by participating in this new financial system, have their country and their country's dollars wrecked. Because this is absolutely going to become more valuable than you could ever imagine in my mind. That's not financial advice, but that's the way I see it on this day. I hope in some way I've been able to raise the level of conversation here about this, because I just want people to understand that I personally see it as a currency, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't get a security or derivative security designation because of how it could be backed to get the value we need that retail holders cannot bring to this asset, but the institutions can. And now that we have a letter that tells us that the federally chartered banking system can use a network like the XRP ledger and settle with stablecoins, tells me we may not be far from seeing the ledger get synchronized with an enormous amount of collateral. And that would drive the price through the roof. And that would make it very accessible for the banks of the world to say, you know what? Now it's the right choice for me to use it today. And the liability issues settled, and we don't have to worry about, no matter how much value or volume is driven into this network and into the price of this token, it could never challenge the US dollar or other major currencies around the world, because the US has given it a security designation because of the collateralization of it, but allows it to operate as a currency because they label it as a global stable coin, a bridge currency to the world. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment below, and share with somebody you know. This is the most exciting thing I've ever followed in my entire life. Make sure you check out the links in the description and the comment section. And there's all kinds of products and services in there that you may want or need, and some really great specials. Make sure you check them out. I'll catch you on the next one.